of the Giants, John Miller.
Yay!
And the 1982 Ford C. Frick Award winner, currently in his 65th season as the voice of the Dodgers. And he was in the broadcast booth during Jackie Robinson's playing days. Fans, please welcome Mr. Vin Scully. Gentlemen.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you. Welcome to the ballpark. It's my privilege and honor to introduce the manager of the National League Western Division champions, Mr. Don Mattingly, wearing number 42.
Very well done, Vin, for your first time as a PA man.
I'm all choked up.
You were really nervous. Incredibly well done. Good luck. Now the manager for the San Francisco Giants, number 42, Bruce Bochy.
Leading off for the Dodgers and playing second base, number 42, D. Gordon.
And leading off for the Giants and playing center field, number 42, Angel Pagan.
Batting second and playing left field, number 42, Carl Crawford.
Batting second for the Giants and playing first base, number 42, Brandon Belt.
Batting third for the Dodgers, shortstop Hanley Ramirez, wearing number 42.
Hitting third for the Giants. At third base, number 42, Pablo Sandoval.
Hitting cleanup for the Dodgers and playing first base, wearing number 42, Adrian Gonzalez.
Hitting cleanup for the Giants, the catcher, number 42, Buster Posey.
Batting fifth for the Dodgers, playing right field, wearing number 42, Yasiel Puig.
For the Giants, batting fifth and playing right field, number 42, Hunter Pence.
Batting sixth for the Dodgers, playing center field, Andre Ethier, wearing number 42.
Hitting sixth for the Giants in left field, number 42, Michael Morse.
Batting seventh and playing third base, wearing number 42, Juan Uribe.
And for the Giants, at shortstop, batting seventh, number 42, Brandon Crawford.
Batting eighth and catching for the Dodgers, number 42, Tim Fedorovich.
And for the Giants, at second base, batting eighth, number 42, Brandon Hicks.
Batting ninth and pitching for the Dodgers, number 42, Josh Beckett.
And batting ninth for the Giants, the pitcher, number 42, Tim Lincecum.
There they are, two great ball clubs. Enjoy the ball game.
Major League Club.
Pee-wee, from the outset, felt that if I were the only white guy trying to break into our black league, I'd want somebody to be my friend. And he says, if Jackie Robinson has the ability and he can make it, that's all I'm going to ask.
On the 16th of April 2014, we remember the events of Patriots Day last year, the third Monday in April. And we've titled this episode just simply Boston. And as we finish our part here, we'll listen to some of the ceremonies. It was a production by ESPN. The marathon will, of course, run next Monday in Boston. 36,000 people will participate. It is a statewide holiday, and people celebrate it in spring. The unfortunate situation is, having been around Beantown for a very long time, that parts of the community do not participate in it as much, specifically Roxbury, some of those areas where there are Latin Americans and, of course, African Americans, sorry about that, and other sectors there. Boston, of course, has changed a lot since the earlier marathons in the 50s and in the 60s, in the 70s, and even in the 80s. So it is a different town today. Mayor Menino echoes that. He worked tirelessly, the former mayor of Boston, who is now fighting cancer. He literally left his medical center room to go there with a broken leg. So he has his struggles, and he encapsulates the basic theme of Boston and of the Yankee mentality. Is basically can be summed up in our campaign slogan, forward. And on Tuesday, we did a program, the Unthinkable in Kansas City. Jared Pippin was with me there, and we had the pleasure of talking about this. And he talked about some of the causes, and I think it's appropriate to highlight some of that in terms of atmosphere. What happened at the Boston Marathon is very confusing. We covered that into the night and all night, and it was one of those situations that there's not a lot of information available. There are one suspect basically that's still alive and a brother, but we really don't know very much about what caused it. There was a lot of security there. The Boston PD even had their pickpocket squad, and in the area where the backpacks were left, it was unbelievable because there was an enormous police and security presence in that area. And how two people would be able to walk in and leave some backpacks and they not be noticed is amazing. And with the TV type, which you have in London, is now all over Boston. So you just wonder how something of that nature could happen. I was looking on Facebook, and Nancy Lockhart, a fearless fighter for people that are incarcerated in various prisons, be it private and public, across the continental U.S., and a fighter for justice, pointed out that I believe it was in Compton, they're using Google technology, but basically, and with a CCTV type thing, the Google map overlaying that, and with their the aid of their computers, not only do they get video, I'm not sure if they have audio, but they could, and see live pictures of the city, and literally see the crimes as they are being committed in areas where there are cameras that are there. And of course, with satellites, etc., Google blimps, the drone fleets that police departments have, they can literally, over a section of city, they can get live pictures. If you recall, when Bin Laden, the leader of the Al Qaeda, was killed or assassinated, what do you want to call it, they were receiving live pictures via satellite in the White House Situation Room. So this is not science fiction anymore. It is a real fact that they can literally pinpoint surveillance either using drones, satellite, or stationary cameras or whatever out there. And there's more drones and low-flying type aerospace vehicles appear on the scene with the use of GPS and mapping technology. Mapping technology has really taken quantum leaps from the day that maps were, of course, drawn, and you'd have your little book driving around a particular city or state, and you'd be looking at a map. And now the map is there, and you can drive in your motor car, or you can walk, and it will literally tell you which direction to go if you need to have that information. Even a little voice to say turn left, turn right, etc. And coming, of course, Google is one of many, many companies this type of technology, that the motor car, whatever you're driving, a bicycle or whatever, will be able to make left turns, right turns, and literally in terms of the car, to be piloted by the maps, computer, etc. So you can see where this type of technology is going. And to take it one step further than this, some of the old tactics, such as what happened in Overland Park, Kansas. You had a white supremacist that came out of the woods, wherever he came from, and was able to drive into the town not noticed, and set up and ambush Dr. Kaporpian. And of course, Kaporpian was one of these people that had a gun, literally. He had a concealed permit and carry permit, they call it, that allows a person to carry a firearm concealed. Now, in many states, the western states, for a very long time, I know when I lived out in Colorado, you could carry a sidearm as long as it was publicly displayed. There was no problem there at all. Now, conceal was different, and some of the states also have that particular law. But back to the technology, it would have literally been possible had this man, Miller Cross, what he calls himself, would have been on a list, a terrorist list. There was an article in the Politico talking about these white supremacy gangs. I think this one was a KKK. Is it a terrorist gang? I can recall back in the 60s that Hoover's FBI, and of course J. Edgar Hoover, was a rabid racist himself. But he labeled the Klan a terrorist organization, and of course the FBI dismantled that particular Klan by the use of informants and various other methods. Now, getting back to our technical presentation here, if this fellow would have been part of it, his movements could have been monitored by satellite or by drone. And what happens there is when a person communicates, he was posting to sites, he's using a computer. We don't know if he used internet cafes, coffee shops, or wherever, but if he posted from home, his IP address is exposed, and once the IP address is exposed, they can find out the owner of that IP, unless he's using someone else's. It really wouldn't matter, because he posted, I believe, in his name on these sites. He was a known actor. So thus, using the technology and free hop technology also, they would be able to pinpoint his whereabouts, including when he was driving in his motor car, pickup, or whatever he was driving, his mobile phone that has GPS in it. And even if he disabled it, really wouldn't honestly matter around there. It's a low jack, basically, technology. So in other words, they would have been able to monitor this character 24/7, and by free hops, basically what that means is people that he was communicating with and people that they are communicating with in onto a third hop. Now, if the third party was also on the free hops, and you get what's going on here, multiply that by 3. And that includes landlines, mobile lines, and once they pinpoint these characters, they can run them through all kinds of databases. Now they would have his writings and the writings of these other characters. So when they go to these various websites, the storm wire, whatever. What they're basically doing there is they're setting up a honey trap for these characters. And it doesn't have to be those sites. It can be lesser sites. They can be in chat rooms. But if they've already identified these people, they know who they are. Because most of these characters are like this guy, Miller, and they are cowards. And Miller was a coward because if he just showed valor there, he would have fought it out with the police. He did not. This character didn't even resist. Got in the back of the cruiser and bobbled his head up and down like one of these bobbleheads, and supposedly said Heil Hitler. And one of the more confusing things is here, the police chief there didn't designate what he said. And they don't have in their repertoire, and this is across the nation, the hate crimes category as the first cause of the crime. Nor did the DA there in Johnson County. So this in itself has caused a number of problems. And the reason this arises is it's political in the sense that many people within quote-unquote law enforcement, whether it be on the state level, city level, county level, etc., are right-wingers. They are members of the Republican Party, which in the state of Wisconsin, some committee there has decided the state of Wisconsin should secede from the Union. Now, those kinds of things create an atmosphere for Miller, Cross, or whatever his name was, to act out whatever he would want to act out in terms of his bestiality. So, in other words, he becomes in terms of the late Dr. Jack Forbes, the Aboriginal scholar, what he called the cannibal. So this all fits very neatly into a situation. And if we go to the Boston Marathon and what the story is of the turmoil, religious turmoil, these people were from around Dagestan area there originally, and this whole atmosphere with the religious types that they were following, this entire right-wing thing there, and it all feeds into what Dr. Forbes called the cannibals. And there's a long ideological situation there that predates Schicklgruber of the Führer, the Hitler. So this goes way back in Western civilization. So we have to kind of look at what the causes of this are. And as Jerry Pippin pointed out, the problems in Ukraine and with Nazis there. It's long known. A young lady out in the Bay Area asked me about that, and she had relatives in Ukraine she'd never met, but we informed her that there are a lot of Nazi sympathizers there. And this is the same thing with Miller. Although the people out there in the woods where he lived may not have belonged to his party or been fellow travelers, but many of them had similar beliefs, systems there. So what's happened is these people have tapped in to that particular situation, and Jerry and I were talking about Laura Ingraham going to ABC. Well, the ABC this week is already a right-wing outlet there. They have Stephanopoulos there, George Stephanopoulos, the Writer Center commentator hosting the show. So you put her there and various other right-wingers. And what this does is enable the right-wingers like Miller, Cross types to act out whatever little fantasies they have, and I guess we'll call them fantasies, because old Cross was standing as they put him in the police cruiser, and we noticed from his arraignment he was in a wheelchair. Now I'm not certain what all that was about, but it's a situation that you have a coward that's using a long gun. That's what he was using, and he shot the good doctor and the doctor's grandson. And then he also shot a woman. And we noticed from the post in the Southern Poverty Law Center that some of the sites, I forget the name of the site, doesn't matter, but you look at their site, they'll have the name of the particular site and some of his fellow travelers. But what these people don't understand is they are not anonymous. Many of these people that are cowards are hiding in their living room, beneath their beds, or wherever they are, and posting these things onto whatever names they're using. They are not disguising themselves because they're communicating with other people, and eventually they use landlines, mobile lines, etc. Even if they are using something like Tor, T-O-R, most of these characters not that sophisticated. But if they were, it really wouldn't matter because they tend to communicate in other forms. Some of these characters even have their whole families in these outfits, and some of those characters are smart enough to have the smiling face when they greet the people on the streets, but when they run into their little private dwellings or whatever, caves or whatever they call it, places, then they spit out this hate, and normally it's under an assumed name in a chat room or whatever, and of course they catch some of them by IP address, and then of course they have some problems. But we started this off with number 42, which is Jackie Robinson. His number is now retired, and veteran broadcaster Joe Miller was there, Hall of Famer, and Vince Scully, who still works for the LA Dodgers. We listened to that game, and we'll get to the scores in just a minute here. We started on this pulling together the tragedy out in Kansas City and what happened in Boston a year ago. A little different situation because in Kansas City they have a suspect. Now there may have been other people involved. That's a little bit differently. The Boston thing remains a mystery there as to how it happened and why it was not prevented. Now on Monday they will have greater security there. They'll even have some Israeli types there, and that's supposed to give greater security. But nonetheless, we don't need to dwell on that issue. Let's go and do the ball scores. Very interesting game last night between the LA Dodgers and also it was played in San Francisco. And it was interesting in that 400 pitches were thrown, literally, there. The game was 5 hours long. Very, very long game there. And, of course, on the East Coast, it was 3 o'clock when the game was finished, I believe, in the bottom of the 11th inning. Anyway, here are the scores, and this is from Tuesday. The Rays and Orioles were postponed. The Cubs and Yankees were postponed. Rain all over the place there. The Pirates were in Cincinnati, played the Reds 8-7. Pirates over the Reds. We listened to a little bit of that game. The Mariners were blanked by the Rangers in Texas, 5-0. The Nationals were destroyed by the Marlins in Florida, 11-2. In the second game, the Reds 7, the Pirates 5. It was a double hitter. The Sox played the White Sox, President Obama's team. White Sox on the south side of Chicago, 2-1 over the Red Sox of Fenway Park. The Twins were destroyed in Minnesota by the Toronto Blue Jays, 9-3. The Cardinals defeated the Brewers in Milwaukee, 6-1. Caught a little bit of that game. The Cardinals are now 9-5, 5-3 away. The Brewers are 10-4, up to a very good season, and 4-4 at home. In Houston, Kansas City defeated the Astros 4-2. There, the Mets shut out the poor D-backs in Arizona, of all places. In 11, another very long game. The Oakland Athletics defeated the Angels 10-9, high-scoring game for baseball. The Rockies, again, in one of these interesting games, 3-2 over the Padres. And this was 12 innings actually. The Dodgers 3, the Giants, the Giants 3, the Dodgers 2. I should remember that. Each had 12 hits. And the Dodgers 2 errors, the Giants 1 error there. And we got all that down. A very, very long game there. When you have literally 500 pitches thrown, 400. Sorry about that. But anyway, nonetheless, that's a very, very long game. Let's check on our time here because we have a little tribute to Boston. We'll try to get in. I think we'll be able to get this in here, at least some of it. This is from the Congressional Budget Office. They're in charge of estimating how much things cost. And this is a joint effort between the staffs of the CBO and the Joint Committee on Taxation, JTC. Nonetheless, they're talking about the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, and the current currently projecting a net cost of $36 billion. That's for 2014. $5 billion less than previously projected, and $1.383 billion for the 2015 to 2024 period. That is $104 billion less than previously projected. Now, they have changed their baseline here. They had it at one time a February 2014 baseline, but now we're looking at the April 2000 baseline. I'm just giving the summary. On numbers, man, we'll go into this. The estimated cost for 2014 stems almost entirely from spending for subsidies as to be provided through the insurance exchange. That's the Obama site. And from increase in spending for Medicaid. Now, some states in the Republican Southland have not opted to expand their Medicare services. Now, this would be for 2015 through 2024. The gross cost of this is $1.839 billion for the subsidies related to spending for insurance there, and Medicaid and the Children's Insurance Project, what they call CHIP. Tax credit for small businesses at $165 billion less than previously projected. Partial offset of $456 billion in receipts from penalties paid. Jerry Pippin and I talked about this. Additional revenue resulting from the excise tax that we did not talk about on high premium insurance plans, and the effects of income and payroll tax revenue, associate outlays arising from projected changes in employment coverage. That is $61 billion less there. So thus, the estimates addressed on the insurance coverage provision of the ACA, they do not constitute all the Act's budgetary effects. Many provisions on net are projected to reduce the budget deficit. Considering all the provisions, including the coverage provision, the CBC and JCT estimated in July of 2012, the most recent comprehensive estimate, that overall would reduce the federal deficit. The updated baseline estimate of budgetary effects of the ACA insurance coverage provisions many times since that the legislation was enacted. Remember, this was enacted in March of 2010. At the time it passed, the period spanned by the estimate had changed. The year-by-year comparisons showed that estimates of the next budgetary impact of the ACA insurance coverage provision has decreased on balance over the past 4 years. This is one of the reasons, and Jerry and I talked about this, that we are into the fourth year, and in 2015 will be a bit different there, and on to 2024. On Numbers Man, which airs this weekend, we'll get into more of this. This was just a summary of what was going on with the Affordable Care Act, and this is April 24, is how it was dated. So we'll now go on to the Boston Tribute. Mayor Menino, Vice President Biden is in this clip, and we're remembering the people that died on that day and were wounded by, of course, the shrapnel, and looking to other events that are occurring that impact us, including in Ukraine, in the sense that these things are global. The Boston thing was supposedly global, although there was not any hint of any kind of conspiracy going into Dagestan or anything of that nature. I was just looking here at the BBC. The NYPD disbanded the Muslim spying unit finally, and also here, while we're here, Ukrainian troops have entered one of the cities there in the east. Excuse me, in the eastern town of Kormastaski. Well, anyway, we'll get that pronunciation a little later for you there. I don't have the BBC newsreaders are fortunate they have that. And the president, V.I. Putin, warned Ukraine was on the verge of a civil war. That was in a phone call to the German Chancellor Merkel. And so there are all kinds of machinations going on in the Ukraine, a very destabilized area, and we'll be monitoring it to see how the destabilization affects Germany and the rest of Europe in terms of what is happening there. So we'll see. You just update here. Paul Flowers, who used to be with the European Bank, charged with drug possession. Well, anyway, doesn't really matter that much. But we'll be also covering what happened to the libraries. In an interesting article here, the gap between executive pay and workers continue. If you look on our Facebook, there's an AFL-CIO report there. So we'll also get the end of the Muslim surveillance program in New York. And the Israelis and Palestinian negotiators are supposed to meet. Be another interesting situation there. Now, the GPS tracking here, I'm just looking at Lilith Al Jazeera. More than 100,000 felons are tracked there. But those are people that have on the tracking devices. That does not include, we talked about earlier, the new high-tech innovations. Nonetheless, this will do it for us, paying tribute to Boston on the 16th, one day after 2014, and one day also after.
Tuesday afternoon at the exact moment on Boylston Street where last year the explosions occurred, the ringing of church bells. This was a day to remember, a day to grieve, to recall, and to celebrate the sense of community at a memorial service here in Boston.
Even though the memories still bring tears to our eyes, our heartaches for those who were lost, it's still a comfort to be here with family and friends who got us through that tragic day. I want you to hear this solemn promise. When lights are dim, the cameras go away. Know that our support and love for you will never waver. We will stand with you, remember with you. We'll never forget that this day means to you. I will never forget. This day will always be hard. This place will always be strong because we gather here today to stand for the people in a city we love with all of our hearts.
We would never wish the devastation and pain we have experienced on any of you. However, we do wish that all of you, at some point in your lives, feel as loved as we have felt over this last year. It has been the most humbling experience of our lives. We hope you feel all the emotion we feel when we say thank you. We will always remember our guardian angels, Lindsay, Sean, Crystal, and Martin. Whether we raised them as our children, knew them for years, met them once, or only know them in spirit, we will carry them in our hearts. Let's show them they live on in our bonds of family, friendship, and community, and in the infectious spirit that we will feel on the third Monday in April for years to come. I am so proud to be a Bostonian because I am so proud to be connected to all of you.
The biggest lesson of all the lessons that I have learned over this past year is that something in your life, in anyone's life, can go horrifically, terribly wrong in a matter of seconds. Yet it is up to us to make every single second count after, because believe me, they do.
There are no strangers here. I see nurses and doctors in elevators and at the CVS whom I met on their third shift a year ago caring for the injured. Our daughter Catherine was walking towards Boylston Street when the first bomb went off. I carry in my pocket today the photograph of Martin Richard holding a campaign sign for me when he was 2 years old. He got around, Mr. Mayor. There are no strangers here.
You've reached back to help so many more people, and the loyalty that you've inspired in this great city. And even though I'm not a Boston fan, I love you guys, man. What an incredible city. It really is. But America is strong. They're not unlike you. All around America. That's what makes us so proud of this city and this state. What makes me so proud to be an American. It's that we have never, ever, ever yielded to fear. On Patriots Day, when I'm told up to 36,000 people line up to start the marathon, you will send a resounding message around the world, not just to the rest of the world, but to the terrorists, that we will never yield. We will never cower. America will never, ever, ever stand down. We are Boston. We are America. We respond. We endure. We overcome. And we own the finish line. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
All of that earlier Tuesday afternoon down Boylston Street at the Heinz Convention Center. ESPN's Michelle Steele was there. Jackie McMullen has been watching all of this for the last year. Michelle, you were there. Your impressions, the things that TV cameras can't pick up. What was the room like?
Well, there are two things that I think are inescapable today, Bob. One is the weather. The second thing is a feeling of sadness and I think grief. You know, a lot of the politicians talked about perseverance and community and resilience and courage. But I think the most resonant comments came from former Mayor Thomas Menino, whose struggles really symbolize this entire city, when he said that will always be, Boylston Street will always be a difficult place to come to, and it'll always be a hard day. And I think that's something that really struck a chord with everyone in the room. He received a standing ovation on the way in and the way out. And I think this is going to be a hard day for many Bostonians to come.
He had checked himself out of a hospital last year with a broken leg and only recently been diagnosed with cancer. The things that jump out at you, having known this city and knowing it so well.
Well, the church bells. Everybody knows these churches. They're landmarks here. And the bagpipes for a city that loves its Irish Catholic heritage. Bagpipes are played at every funeral, just about. And just the resiliency of the people here, Bob. I think Boston's very proud of that. I think you've seen a lot of it over the last year. But I don't think the healing's done yet. I know people are looking for closure, but I think they just need to give people some time for that.
That could be elusive. Perhaps Monday will be a step in that direction with 36,000 runners here.
I think so, and a chance to put a bright face back on the marathon, to have maybe a sunny day again, to have some winners, to having a day of racing where there's no conflict, there's no problems. I think this city really could use that.
It's palpable, Boston Strong. It's more than a T-shirt. You get a sense, speaking to people here, what this is about.
Absolutely. I think the people of the city of Boston, perhaps more than any other big city marathon, really take ownership of this event. It is literally a state holiday. It's normally a very joyous occasion. Everyone is out. It's sort of is a signal that spring really truly is here and summer is right around the corner. I spoke at the tribute ceremony to the coordinator of medical personnel, and he's been coordinating medical personnel since 1975, and he said what happened last year will forever color how he sees the marathon. And they're actually going to have tourniquet kits, Bob, for the first time this year from the Israeli army, at least 10 of them.
Wow, and security such as this race has never seen. That is next Monday, the 118th running of the Boston Marathon, after this day to remember in the city that coined the phrase and exemplified it, Boston Strong.